Alright, what's going on, everybody? Today we got a Toyota Camry. We'll be replacing some struts, tie rods, sway bar links. I'll go ahead and get this thing jacked up and get started. We're going to get our jack stand underneath here. Alright, remove our wheels. Alright, next we'll go ahead and pop the hood. Alright, now we got the hood opened up. We got room to get to our nuts on top of the strut, which we'll be getting to here in just a few. Alright, first thing we're going to do is go ahead and get the jam nut for the tie rod loosened up. Then we'll get the outer tie rod off. And then we'll do the inner tie rod. And then we'll work on the strut and the sway bar link. That was honestly too easy. Alright, we'll go and get this cotter pin out for the outer tie rod. This will be a 17 millimeter. To get that nut off. Alright, since we're not saving it, we can hit it with a hammer, get it removed. Alright, so once we go to remove this outer tie rod, what we're going to do is just count our turns. See how many turns it is before it comes off. And that'll give us a good general idea of how many turns to put the new one back on. So it looked like 17 exactly to get it off. Alright, next thing we're going to do, we got to work on getting this jam nut off of the inner tie rod. I'll try to do it with some wrenches. If it becomes too tight, I mean, we put some heat on it and try to get it off to save it. We'll check and see if our new tie rods come with a jam nut or not, and kind of go from there with it. Alright, since it does come with a new jam nut, really no sense of doing too much here. We're just going to go ahead and just cut this inner tie rod down to get that off. Now, as long as you're not planning on keeping the inner tie rod, like, so you can cut it off, and now you'd be able to get a socket on here and an impact or something like that and take it off easy. Alright, next thing to do, we're going to go and get this clamp off of the tie rod boot. And then there's another clamp on the inside here. I'll get you closer, show you what we got to knock loose to be able to get this boot off. Alright, and that clamp will come right off. Alright, if you can just see that tab right there on the edge of the boot, just up and left of the bolt that's holding the rack in, that's the one we need to knock loose. So let's go ahead and get it knocked out, and we'll get this boot slipped off. Alright, so what I'm going to do is just stick a pry bar right there on that clamp, and we'll use a hammer on the end of it to knock it free. Alright, just a couple taps with the hammer, it'll come right off. And now we should be able to slip our boot completely off. Alright, just like so. And then here is our clamp. Like I said, this is what you're wanting to tap on right here. Like I said, you hit that a couple times and it'll separate. Alright, so probably my favorite inner tie rod tool, it's called a rack wrench. This one I do believe I bought off Amazon. I know some of the tool trucks sell them. Might be able to get one that's similar to this one at like AutoZone or local parts store. So what you do is you just slip this on over the inner tie rod, and it's got some grooves in here that will bite onto it. Then we'll use a long extension, don't mind the tape, with a socket on it and a ratchet on the other end to slip this thing right off. Just like that. I mean, just super easy. You don't have to mess with that long tube style, finding the right crow's foot to fit the back end of it. Super easy to get them loose, and then we can take it right off. Alright, if yours has this spacer, like I said, we'll clean it up and we'll put it right back on. The tabs that stick off here will go facing the inside into that indexed portion of the rack. So we'll go ahead and get our new tie rod started here. The spacer is on the end of the tie rod right now. I'm going to line it up once I get started. A couple threads, a few threads there. We'll get this washer spacer lined up back here. All right, and then we'll go ahead and tighten this down. All right, we'll get it good and hand tight. So let's go ahead and slip this on over. All right. So we'll go ahead and remove our jam nut. And we'll go ahead and get our boot installed here. Before we go any further with installing the outer tie rod, we're going to go ahead and get this strut and sway bar link dealt with while it's off, so we have the ability to move this knuckle back and forth easily, and that'll be that. So let's see. Let's go ahead and grab some sockets real quick. We're going to need to take the brake line loose from the strut here. We'll go ahead and get this top sway bar link nut off as well. The 2 bolts for the strut to knuckle, we'll get those removed as well. And then we'll go ahead and get the strut out of the way and work on getting the sway bar link the rest of the way off. Alright, so it looks to be 19mm for the sway bar link. Get it pretty tight, and that'll hold it for us. And we'll be able to get that nut off the rest of the way. So the nut's off. Alright, we'll go ahead and get a 12mm right there on that brake line and remove that bolt. Save that. We're going to need that again. And that'll take care of our ABS wheel speed sensor wiring and the brake line. Alright, next we'll go ahead and get our 2 strut, the knuckle bolts, taken out of here, 22mm. All right, so once that's out, we'll just use a hammer, gently tap this bolt, and it'll come right out. All right, then we'll separate the knuckle from the strut. And you should be able to just push it forward and let it hang without putting too much stress on. The wiring will be fine, the brake line will be fine, the axle will be fine. And once you got that out, we've got 3 strut bolts on top. We'll get the first 2 out, and then we'll need to get our hand underneath here. I just put it on the spring, hold it, and we'll be able to pull it right out. There's 1. Two. Now is the time, with everything out of your way, to go ahead and remove the bottom nut from that sway bar link. Alright, just like that, the nut's off. We'll go ahead and take the sway bar link out of here. Alright, so go ahead and get our new sway bar link put in here at the bottom. 18 millimeter is what the new size will be, just the way it is with the aftermarkets. Alright, so we've got our new strut. I'm going to go ahead and slip it up in there and get the nut started on it. Alright, so that'd be plenty tight enough. So we can go back underneath here and get our strut and knuckle reassembled. Alright, so we'll go ahead and grab our steering knuckle and get it lined up here with the strut. There we go. And we'll get our strut bolts lined up and put back in. Alright, we'll get those torqued down. We'll go ahead and get our wheel speed sensor and brake line put back into place. Alright, so we've got that tightened up. Next we'll go ahead and get our sway bar link put back on. Alright, and then our strut will be installed. Let's go ahead and get our outer tie rod put on. Alright, so we'll go ahead and get it started. We want to try to put it on about 17 turns. And there's about 17. And we'll go ahead and get our outer tie rod back into the steering knuckle here. Get our new nut installed. And that is it. It's tightened down. So I'm gonna go through here and torque everything down. But this is it, guys. Strut, sway bar link, inner and outer tie rod replacement on a Toyota Camry. Thanks for watching.